Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital, and we're going to have a look at another beer from OO Brewing, who you've seen me review a good number of things from. So this is one that they've released for the Juldrika assortment at the start of November 2019, and this is the Porter Porter. As the name suggests, of course, it is a porter beer and it comes in at 5.4% ABV. So yeah, I've never had a porter from these guys as far as I can remember. I've had imperial stouts, I've had barley wines, and I think, you know, I've had mainly IPAs from them before actually, so I'm curious to see how they do with this style. But in my experience, OO Brewing tend to do some really good beers generally, so hopefully this is another one of those, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from OO Brewing before. No doubt there will be some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about OO Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned earlier, OO Brewing are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg here in Sweden, and they were founded back in 2011 by Olaf and Olle Andersson, who are childhood friends, and for many years they were also avid homebrewers. So the pair have always been very interested in beers, and Olle was apparently heavily involved in the Gothenburg beer scene since pre-drinking age, and he was also the brewer at Stigbergets Brewery as well, and this is where the majority of the OO Brewing beers were originally produced. So while Olle was doing the brewing, Olaf manages the business side of the brewery, but he also works in Copenhagen at a marketing agency. And apparently they just enjoy making beers that they would love to drink themselves. In April of 2017 though, Olle left Stigbergets Brewery and fully invested his time with OO Brewing, and the company invested in a brewery in Hisingen near the Tingstead Bridge, and it's equipped with a 2,000 litre brewing system, which means that they can brew up to 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the first year there they brewed 100,000 litres, and they're just gradually kind of working it up to capacity at the moment. I think they brewed somewhere in the region of like 200,000 odd litres in 2018. So I'm guessing by 2019 they probably will have, you know, they probably will be looking to get quite close to that, to be honest with you. They'll probably be not too far off it. But yeah, over the last few years we've seen them kind of expanding, a bigger presence in Systembolaget of course, and you know, they're doing a lot of different beers now, which is great. I mean, they only had sort of 4 or 5 beers in their regular range before, but they have been releasing things every so often through the small partiers and stuff like that as well. And of course you can get their beers mainly through Glassbanken.se as well. They've got quite a few different things on there. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about OO Brewing for the moment. A very good Gothenburg brewery, this one, and I would recommend that you check them out if you get the chance. The Muscles Double IPA was one of my favourite beers from these guys, but then again, Evergreen is also really quite good as well. And I don't know if they're still doing the Bankgatan, which was a New England IPA. That was really quite nice as well. But yeah, check out this brewery. If you want to learn more about the brewery, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 5% porter, 5.4% porter, sorry. There you can see a lovely picture of the Gothenburg port there, Göteborg's ham, I guess you would say. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one, and that's one of the things I have to say, all of the OO artwork tends to be really quite nice. There you can see the brewery symbol just on the back of the can there, OO for Olaf and Olle. I should have pointed out actually that the two aren't related, they are just friends, but Andersson is, you know, a fairly common surname here in Sweden. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting, released on the 1st of November 2019 through the Juldrika assortment in Systembolaget. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we will see how we get on. I've said in a couple of videos now, I've noticed that the likes of porters and Schwarzbiers and black IPAs, they seem to be enjoying a little bit of a sort of renewed popularity here in Sweden for some reason. What that reason is, I don't know, but the Swedish breweries, in my opinion, have always been pretty strong when it comes to dark beers. They're always producing some really quite good stuff, and I don't know if it's just because it's a a Nordic country, they're quite cold and things like that, but I've always noticed that Danish, Swedish, Norwegian Imperial Stouts, they're pretty special actually. So for those of you watching over in the States and Australia and the Far East and stuff like that, make sure that you try some, if you come across Scandinavian beer, try some of the dark stuff, because it is pretty damn special, I have to say. But some really good New England IPAs these days as well, and there were some very good West Coast IPAs once upon a time too. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely dark kind of ebony rosewood colour. If you shine the light through it, you can see it does get a little bit of a Coca-Cola coloured edge. There was about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of fawn beige head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall this one looks pretty much as you would expect from a porter beer. A lovely kind of dark ebony rosewood colour beer. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, so straight away with this beer, it smells very, very smooth. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of lactose or something in this, because it does come across as almost a little bit milky actually. But yeah, nice little bit of a kind of white bready quality in there, very smooth and almost lactosey at the same time. There is a little bit of a kind of dusty chocolate to the beer, no real brown sugars or anything like that. Yeah, that really does smell just a little bit lactosey. There is a little bit of the toasty black malt, definitely a little bit of the lactosey smoothness in there, and a bit of kind of dark dusty chocolate, to be honest. So yeah, a little bit of an earthy hop quality, which is what you'd expect. I'm guessing this one's supposed to be like a London porter, I would think. So yeah, you can pick up, I think there's a wee bit of English hop in there, but in fairness the earthiness actually comes across as being a bit lighter and a little bit more American, should we say. So yeah, you've got a little bit of a floral quality in there, but that's quite minimal, and there's a little bit of grassiness also. But to be honest with you, this actually comes across in the aroma like it's going to be more of a sweet porter, to be honest with you, but who knows, maybe in the flavour I'll be surprised. On the fruity side of things, it's quite it's a light sort of figgy note that you're getting off this one, some kind of candied red fruit and things like that, but that's quite minimal actually. So yeah, it's really interesting how that goes together. I like the aroma of this beer. It comes across as if it is going to be quite a sweet porter. I just want to have a little look at the can actually and see whether there is lactose in this one, because that is something they would have to tell people about lactose, because you get the lactards and stuff like that can't have it. But no, it just says barley. Just actually says just malted barley, so I guess probably a pure grain beer then actually. So yeah, take a little bit of time then and enjoy the aroma of this one before we get stuck in. Or before you get stuck into it. I'm going to get stuck into this one now, that's what I meant to say. I keep having brain farts on videos these days, maybe I'm just getting old. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go on. This one is the Porter, released on the 1st of November 2019 through the Julsvika assortment in Systembolaget here in Sweden, from OO Brewing in Gothenburg. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, skål. Yeah, that's really pretty nice actually. So one of the things we should always say, because the porter is probably the English equivalent of the German Schwarzbier or the Czech Tmavy. The English beer, the English version of the porter is always just a little bit thicker than the black lagers, and it's just that little bit smoother as well, to be honest with you. This has got a really nice body to it, this beer, I have to say. I like how this goes together. And I would say generally, the porter beers, they come across as a little bit thicker, if you like, than the German Schwarzbiers and the Czech Tmavis and stuff like that. Of course, the main difference between the Czech and the German ones, in my opinion, is I've always found the German ones are a little bit more kind of crisp, if you like, whereas the Czech ones are a little bit more bready and things like that. This one doesn't really, it's got a little bit of breadiness to it, but mainly it's more, the main thing with a porter is just to get the body that little bit thicker, to be honest. But then again, the difference between the stout and the porter is again the thickness of the body. And I guess with a porter, usually they use a yeast that is fairly similar to a lager yeast, from what I understand. Correct me on that in the comments section below if I'm wrong right enough. Some of you that are doing home brewing will be a lot more well versed in that than I am. But yeah, the porter beer, as I always say, is the English equivalent of the Schwarzbier and the Tomavi. But this is a really nice take on the style, actually. It's quite a nice sessionable beer. To be honest with you, you know, I would never really go for, I like a Schwarzbier, I like a Tomavi and a porter every so often, but it's not a beer that I would go and immediately session. If I was going to session, you know, I would go for you know, like a Helles or a Dunkel, probably more likely a Helles or even an IPA or something. I'd probably start on a Helles and then go on to an IPA. The darker beers for me are a little bit more kind of along the lines of being treat beers, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't usually session anymore. I don't really drink beer that much outside of the videos that I do for you, but you know, I never would have thought to session a porter beer, to be honest with you. The porter beer is maybe like this, to me it's the sort of second last beer you have at the night, and then you finish off with an imperial stout or something. But yeah, that is good. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. So straight away, the middle of your palate, you can feel there is a little bit of that roasty black malt there, and in fairness, the malt base does dry out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste. But on top of that, you really have this very kind of silky feel to the beer. It's a little bit bready, but at the same time, it does come across as being almost lactosey, but it doesn't quite have the sweetness that you would expect from lactose. And it does say that it's a pure malt beer, so I'm just wondering exactly what kind of malt it would be in this case. But yeah, you can definitely feel, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this beer now, you can feel a little bit of that roasty toasty black malt pushing its way out of the beer, and then it really is just a kind of smooth bready quality that's sitting there. You can feel there's definitely a sort of smoothness to this beer that almost tastes as if it has a little bit of lactose to it, but not quite as yeah, not quite as strong right enough. I mean, I think what they might have done here is maybe they could maybe have used like dextrose or dextrin or something like that in this one to give you that sort of creamy feel to it, actually, which is a nice touch. It's not something I would have thought to do with a beer, but then these guys are famous, if you like, for the New England IPAs. Ole Anderson was the creator of the Amazing Haze and stuff like this. But yeah, that is a really nice take on the porter. It gets a thumbs up from me. The further you go into the aftertaste as well with this one, if you go to the front corners of the palate, you're going to get a little bit of a woody quality to this beer as well. It's just got a few sort of woody undertones to it, not really any nuttiness, and further forward on the palate it does become a little bit more kind of roasty and toasty as well. If you move into the centre of your palate, maybe you'll detect a little bit of a sweet kind of chocolatey quality to this one. And it does, I mean, the chocolatey notes have a little bit of dustiness to them, but they've also got a little bit more of a kind of milky chocolate edge to them also. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness there. There is something that makes me wonder, I think there might be an English hop in this and an American one, because you've got a bit of that darker earthiness in there. So it could be like Bramling's Cross or Kent Goldings or something that's in here, because you've got a little bit of that darker earthiness that you would associate with English hops. And as you move further forward along the sides of the palate, it does smoothen out a little bit. You get a little bit of a floral quality on the front corners of the tongue, then around the very front curve of the palate it's just that little bit lighter and grassy, which is pretty nice, I have to say. Behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that oily bubble, where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer, and this one is again pretty much what you'd expect. So yeah, on that fruity side of things then, it is that very light, that typical very light sort of figgy quality, that sort of takes over. the whole of the oily part behind your beer, or behind the front of your tongue, sorry. And the further you go into the aftertaste, it's a little bit blackberry-ish, blackcurranty, which is kind of nice. So I really like how that all goes together. To be quite honest, it's very, very nicely done. In terms of the aftertaste, really, it gets more roasty and toasty and more dry the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, actually. But some of that blackcurranty, blackberry aftertaste lingers there as well. So I mean, overall, this is a really nice take on the porter. It's definitely got that sort of roasty, robust kind of thing that you would expect from a London porter. But it's the mouthfeel on this one for me is done quite nicely. I think they're taking a few aspects of their New England IPA brewing and sticking that in here. So yeah, this is a really interesting one, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. If you're a fan of the porter style, I think you will enjoy this one. But you know, this is OO Brewing. They're not going to put a bad beer out there, so it's not surprising that they've been able to produce something like this. The Pilsner beer that I tried from them recently was very nice. The barley wines and the imperial stouts and stuff have always been very good as well. So thumbs up to OO Brewing once again for their take on this beer style. In terms of the mouthfeel then, this is where I think the beer really needs its praise. I would say that this beer is kind of mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth on this one. It does have a degree of wetness, which is what you would expect from a porter beer, but it's a really nice kind of thick and almost creamy mouthfeel that you're getting out of this one. The malt base, yeah, I mean, the malt base for me, it's got a lovely thickness and silkiness to it, so a very, very smooth malt base. And there is a wee degree of sweetness in there, a sort of chocolatey sweetness that comes out in the beginning, but then, like I said, the beer starts to get drier and drier the more you go into the aftertaste. In terms of the bitterness of this beer then, this one is definitely, it must be around 40 or 50, I think maybe 50 IBUs. You've got a nice little bit of juicy fruity quality in there as well, and overall it's just a really, really nice take on the porter beer. So thumbs up once again to OO Brewing for this. I'm not surprised they've produced a really nice take on the porter style, because they are just generally a very, very solid brewery. But a nice one to release for Christmas, and one of the more sessionable Christmas releases I think that you're going to find from a lot of breweries out there in Sweden at the moment. So yeah, give it a go and just see what you think. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Porter Porter. I was forgetting the name there because it was, you know, I should have remembered that one, but Porter Porter is kind of an unusual name to call the porter. London Night or something like that could have been an interesting name for it. But yeah, an interesting porter, this one, and definitely worth having a go at. The Porter Porter from OO Brewing at 5.4%. in Gothenburg here in Sweden. Check out this beer while it's available through the Julrika assortment, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this one again soon, because it is a very nice example of the style. So until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you for watching my beer reviews. As always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from OO Brewing as well. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very soon. It's Landry, Skull, cheers. Make sure you check out the Porter Porter from OO Brewing. Cheers.